it was better than the first one. That isn't saying much, really. Admittedly, going into this film, I was expecting a lot of things to happen. I was expecting Megan McCarthy, whom, at the end of the day, is a good writer, to learn from her past mistakes, and to properly write a story that should fill more than 60 minutes of total running time. So I was expecting it to be better paced, better structured, more tightly written, and with better developed characters all around. I was expecting that. I was expecting it to have slightly better music. It wasn't bad, the music of the first one, but for a film called Rainbow Rocks, one has to expect something a bit more rock. And sure enough, the music was great. I was expecting Sunset Shimmer to be the main character in this, because that would be the next logical step in this sub-franchise, in this story altogether, to have Sunset Shimmer going from the villain to the main character after a redemption arc. I was expecting that. I was even half expecting, half wishing that the epic confrontation, the epic climax of the Battle of the Bands between the Rainboons and the Dazzlings would be something out of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is one of my favorite films. And it was! In fact, it was even more over the top. I mean, it included some sort of... They summoned a giant crystal rainbow-maned alicorn of musical ponage through the power of rock to defeat the bad guys. That's... What I was not expecting about this film is actually both the simplest thing not to expect, but also the sneakier thing. I was not expecting it to be so decisively better than the original, so good that it would completely shatter and pulverize and crush the very memory that the first film ever existed. Rainbow Rocks did indeed rock my world. If you think I'm being a bit too calm compared to my, well, previous outbursts, well, that's because I saw the film last night, well, the night before this recording. So I had time to mull over it and to collect myself and to sound a little bit more professional and a little bit fanboy frenzy, so to speak. So let's calmly discuss why this film does everything right. Now, right off the bat, right off at the beginning, in the scene before the title credits roll, already it proves to be a better film than the original, because it builds on the events of the first one, but it also somewhat justifies the otherwise nonsensical climax of the first one. It is mentioned that equestrian magic, which is a thing, was introduced into the human world. And the sirens, the Dazzlings, these three lovable characters that are already everyone's favorite, because for obvious reasons, are planning to take advantage of the magic so that they can actually power themselves up and take over the world, because of course. And they feed off 8. Actually, the sirens, I believe, are a nice addition to the rock gallery of the series. Both the Pony universe and the humanverse, by the way. They actually make a lot of sense, considering a lot of, well, everything about the show revolves around the power and magic of friendship and love, literally vanquishing evil, and there is magic in the air that flows like mana from the ancient tree of harmony, which is something more akin of a Tales of gaming universe. Foot for thought there. So it makes sense that to have enemies, to have villains, that will feed upon the opposite emotion, hate. Even better, they are not exactly a retrace of the changelings, because one thing about the changelings that's unique to them, they feed off love, of that emotion, because, well, that's how they survive. It's a form of sustenance. But the dazzlings, the sirens, they feed off hate because they are power hungry, because it's the source of their evil, dark magic, and the source of their plan to take over the world. They have an interesting, well, they have a classic character's dynamic. There is the cunning, manipulative leader, Adagio, with the nice giant orange pearl, and then there is the snarky, eye-rollingly snarky one, Arya, and then there is the dumb one, Sonata, that everyone loves, and she is the worst, according to Arya, that is. So, speaking of the songs, it's really interesting to notice how much care has been put in a scene whenever the Dazzlings come to perform. It's a moment in the film in which the world stops, in which the film stops and the audience with it. It's a moment of the film that demands your full attention, and it gets it. It gets that attention of yours. The way they slowly walk into the scene as they strum their vocal chords in preparation of their mellow rock ballads that are both captivating and somewhat hypnotizing. But that's kind of the point. They are sirens. They hypnotize you. I'm sure you all know the Greek mythology equivalent of that. Right? So yes, especially the first song, which is where they left their impact on the school, I love it because it's the perfect antithesis of the cafeteria song from the last film. Now that song, the original cafeteria song, was an upbeat pop tune meant to cheer everyone up and get everyone together. Conversely, the Dazzlings' Battle of the Bands song is this somber rock ballad that riles everyone's up against each other. It's very clever how having this comparison with the same scene, with a similar scene in the first film. It shows that both the writers and the animators had a kick with this film. And speaking of the animation is just gorgeous. Probably the best flash-based animation that's ever been produced so far. So, and it's especially evident in scenes like the songs and performances by the Dazzlings, whenever they sing, in fact. Those are the best musical and moments in the film, and also the best animated moments in the film, generally speaking. The lighting and the shading creates this sense of this hypnotic sense of isolation from the rest of the colorful background of the film. It really shows the difference between them and between our protagonists, which are all about friendship. Well, when they're not bickering with one another, but we'll get to that in a moment. Presentation-wise, the Dazzlings are possibly the best villains in this entire franchise, next to Tyrek. But Tyrek didn't have his own songs now, did he? So yes, and I love about the fact that they didn't really need to do much against the main characters during the whole Battle of the Bands affair. because thanks to their hate-inducing songs, everyone else, literally everyone else, that was participating in the school's Battle of the Bands was trying to sabotage the Rain Booms. And I'm especially surprised that Trixie actually had a fundamental role as a minor villain in this film. That was quite great, especially for fans. That was pretty good. Nothing more to say about that. She has her own song too. I approve. Okay, so the Dazzlings. They are one of the best elements in the film. The animation also is one of the best elements in the things. The music is great. And don't get me started on the opening title credits for the film, which, well, I don't want to say they are the best thing ever, but I kind of did already, didn't I? They are several fathoms better than the also unique, quite amusing title credits of the original film. I think they have more of a personality. It has to do with the song too, because they used an actual song this time, not the remix and dubstep remix of the My Little Pony opening theme song like they did in the first film. Every time in this song, every time there is the guitar plays right after the lyrics "Rainbow Rocks," it gives me goosebumps every time, and it flows well with the silhouetted animation style of said opening credits. It's really quite good. It puts you immediately into the mood of enjoying a rock and roller coaster ride. Something enjoyable. That's what I'm trying to say. But the best thing about this film, the absolute best element about this thing, was Sunset Shimmer, the main character, because she is the main character. Princess Twilight Sparkle might be in this film, but it is Sunset Shimmer who is the focus of the story. She is struggling between her desire to actually learn about friendship and redeem herself from her past actions that actually made her miserable, and at the same time she has to deal with the consequences of her actions, which leaves everyone in the school shunning her for obvious reasons, because she turned into a she-demon that's trying to brainwash everyone, and that's difficult to forget and to forgive. But she is trying. She's trying very hard to improve herself. She has already improved herself. She still needs to acquire more confidence in her new found outlook at life. Thankfully, she has 5 friends that are willing to give her that chance. And she has quite a good relationship with them, well, aside from a few moments like oh gee, remember that time someone turned into a monster? No offense, Sunset Shimmer. None taken. She's like, but it's obviously taken. So, Sunset Shimmer has the idea of contacting Twilight Sparkle. Well, it was more she actually tried to contact Princess Celestia, but two contrivances. It went directly to Twilight Sparkle, and in a matter of seconds she built some sort of improvised mirror Stargate to get to the human verse. That was probably the weakest moment of the film, but I won't hold a grudge against it. Also, there's this thing that it's never explained why the magical furry appendages of the human main 5s, which we will call the Rain Booms for simplicity, only appear when they perform musically, and they are passionate about it. I'm going to just take that and put it here and say, this is the power of rock. Enough said. There is this moment at the center of the film which they spent sleepover at Pinkie Pie's. By the way, it's actually nice to see what they do in their spare time, these girls. I love to see Pinkie Pie updating her Facebook status to Okie Dokie Loki. And then there's Sunset and Rarity and Fluttershy, they are taking a selfie. and Rainbow Dash and Applejack are playing video games. That looks oddly appropriate. Anyway, there is this scene in the middle of the night there, in which there is this brief exchange between Twilight Sparkle and Sunset Shimmer, in which they do connect at a fundamental level. This is the moment in which Twilight Sparkle comes clean with what has always been her burden ever since she has taken more and more responsibilities as the student of Celestia and then as the Princess of Friendship. Now she finds herself in a position, in a completely different world, in which once again she has the responsibility, the given responsibility, the both self-enforced responsibility and the need to not disappoint the others. That's always been the driving force of Twilight Sparkle. She tries to write this counter spell that they should perform in a song to defeat the Dazzlings, because traditional friendship power didn't actually work. For some reason. And so we have Twilight Sparkle, her role and the responsibilities that come with it, and the need to satisfy expectations that's always been a driving force in her character. And on the other side there is Sunset Shimmer, whom is trying to be better than she was before, and also and for this particular reason, also she doesn't want to disappoint others. She has expectations of both herself and expectations in how the others would react to her. So this is the moment in which the two characters, for two completely different reasons, they find themselves to be in a completely similar boat, and they connect at a fundamental level, and it's a beautiful, beautiful scene. And then Mud Pie pops out of nowhere.
Boulder was hungry.
Funniest thing ever. This Equestria Girls Rainbow Rocks. It's a terrific film. It's enjoyable from start to finish. It has a good pacing. And the music is great. I told it many times. The animation is great. It makes these human models look much better than they have any right to be. Well, aside from Celestia and Luna, they still look awful. With those ridiculously long legs and everything. The least we see them, the better. Okay, then there is Flash Sentry, which is a non-entity, and as always, but I have a theory about Flash Sentry's forced presence in this film, even though it matters to nothing actually. It's not because of Hasbro, because they're not selling toys of him. I think Flash Sentry is Megan McCarthy's own pet project. She would love to have him become a major character and have a major romantic role with the lead of Twilight Sparkle, but she never has the time to fully develop that because there are all the other elements in the film that thankfully take precedence. As in they are, because of course they are way more interesting than Flash Sentry will ever be. But who knows, maybe in the third film Flash Sentry will finally have a reason to exist. Speaking of reason to exist, Spike was actually the most forgettable character in this film, as opposed to the first one. But really, he had less impact in the story than Vinyl Scratch's own cameo that basically saves the day. And then she comes with a car that transforms into a giant DJ set that blows music away. It's great. It's the closest thing we'll ever get to the bass cannon meme, and that's great. That's fan service done right. But yes, Spike is not really memorable in this film, but I actually think it's because everyone else was so much more interesting and memorable. Everyone gets a moment in the spotlights, even the various members of the Rainbows, the human main five, so to speak. They bicker constantly, and Rainbow Dash has a giant ego trip. But that makes sense because they are teenagers, so you would expect to have those kind of moments. Whereas the main 6 back in Equestria are actually supposed to be adults. They are. Let's not fool ourselves. But that's great because that's how Sunset Shimmer gets to really shine, by bringing everyone together, making them realize of the flaw of the errors of their ways, while also making Twilight Sparkle realize what she was doing wrong. And also, to those who might think, why wouldn't Twilight Sparkle notice that her friends were having that emotional fallout due to simple idiotic things related to the band and egos clashing? I'll tell you why. And it's not just because she was too focused on her task of finding a counterspell, which turns out to be completely pointless. For all the right reasons, mind you. It's because, let's face it, they are friends, but they are not her friends. They are Sunset Shimmer's friends. Sunset Shimmer is the main character of Equestria Girls. And to further exclaim that point, the film ends in the most beautiful note possible, in a way that really makes the entire storyline of both the show and the films come full circle, in a satisfying way, with Sunset Shimmer starting to writing friendship reports to Princess Twilight Sparkle. Which is how I fully expect things will turn out in Season 5, with her subjects writing friendship reports to her, which would make all the sense in the world. And speaking of Season 5, okay, so to summarize, the best thing I can really say about Rainbow Rocks is this. Last year, we waited impatiently for Season 4 to get the Equestria Girls taste out of our mouths as soon as possible. I didn't mind it as much, but seeing the sequel this year is Season 5, who has to live up to the quality of the Equestria Girls film. And this, really, is all that needs to be said at this point. See you around.